13 good years. That's how long it has taken to get here. 13 years since Agnes Wanjiru, a young mother, walked into a bar in Nanyuki and never came home. Her body was found days later, stuffed into a septic tank like her life meant nothing. And from the very beginning, the whispers were not whispers at all. They were loud, clear, and devastating. People in town said it was a British soldier. Fellow soldiers admitted they knew. Some even joked about it. And yet, nothing. No trial, no arrest, not even the dignity of a serious investigation. For over a decade, officials looked away, files disappeared, and politicians smiled for the cameras, while a family buried their daughter twice. Not once, twice. First her body, then her case. For 13 years, files went missing. The case stalled, and Kenya's leaders acted like sovereignty was a decorative word for speeches. Fast forward to September 2025. High Court finally issues an arrest warrant. And now the spotlight turns to Britain. Now, we are not here to go back to the story of Agnes. Actually, here we are discussing on what is next. What happens next? The warrant is out. So what? Okay? What happens next? Now, following the arrest warrant, this thing could go either of three ways. And the first way is extradition. Now, Britain could hand over the suspect, put him on a plane to Nairobi, and let him face trial where the crime took place. That's the cleanest option, honestly. That's the one that respects Kenya's sovereignty. But ask yourself, when has a powerful nation ever willingly surrendered one of its own soldiers to face justice in Africa? These are the same governments that sign international treaties with one hand and shred them with the other. Are we really supposed to believe that Britain, the proud architect of half of the world's double standards, will suddenly decide that, you know what, a Kenyan courtroom is good enough for their soldier? Forget about that. Now, which is the other way this could go? Now, the other way this could go is domestic trial. What would happen? Britain refuses extradition, but promises to prosecute him at home. On paper, that shows responsibility. They're taking responsibility. Yes, this is our citizen. We are going to deal with him fair and square. Now, in reality, this means the case shifts to a courtroom somewhere in London. Witnesses from Kenya would have to travel across continents. Do they even have that money? What happens to the family? All right? How are they going to follow that case? Evidence gathered in Nanyuki would be examined by people who have never set foot there. And Agnes' family, of course, they'd watch from thousands of miles away, let alone if they could afford it, to go to London and follow this case. Okay, they would be following through TV clips and live streams. Now tell me, how do you call that justice? Justice that happens in another country, in another language, under another flag. Isn't that just a polite way of keeping control? Okay? And then the final way this thing could go, and this is the favorite trick of governments: delay, delay, delay. Would have endless requests for additional evidence, statements about national security, of course, here and there, and classic British politeness. You know, we take this matter very seriously, innit? But isn't that phrase always a warning sign that whenever a government says it's taking something seriously, even here in Kenya, you can almost be guaranteed that nothing serious will actually be done? Because 13 years of silence actually proves it. So actually, why not make it even 14? Honestly, this route gives both governments breathing space. Kenya looks tough for issuing an arrest warrant. Yes, we are arresting the Brits. Okay? And then Britain looks serious for reviewing it. We've received this. We will be taking a closer look at this. All right? Meanwhile, Agnes' family gets nothing. Now let's look at the bigger picture. Let's step back, okay? Because this is bigger than one case. This is bigger than one soldier. This is about power and sovereignty. Britain still trains thousands of troops in Nanyuki every single year. They pump money into the local economy, pose for photos with smiling officials, and in return, they get something more valuable than cash. Silence. Because when you bring in money and call it partnership, suddenly every atrocity becomes negotiable. They can get away with this, they can get away with that, right? Unless you show me where action has been taken in totality. And don't think this is unique. In Iraq, let's go to Iraq. British soldiers accused of torture had their cases quietly shelved in 2017. In America, soldiers accused of killing civilians abroad were not only protected, some were pardoned and celebrated. If powerful countries can bury war crimes, why would they treat a Kenyan woman's murder any differently? So here's the real question. Why did it take 13 years, 3 presidents, and 5 attorney generals for Kenya to issue a single warrant? Why? Because when foreign boots are on African soil, sovereignty becomes performance. Something to talk about on Independence Day, not something to live by when it matters. Then we ask ourselves, so what can be done? What can we do? Katiba Ninja, what can we do? Parliament can demand transparency on the extradition request. No secret deals. Civil societies can push the courts to avoid backroom deals. Now, let alone civil society groups. What can lawyers do? Because lawyers have a legal tool that they can actually use, and this is called public interest case or public interest litigation. In plain language, that's when a case is filed in court, not just on behalf of one person, but on behalf of the public good. It's a way to force the government to act, disclose information, or stop dragging its feet. So we can actually force them into action. What are you actually doing? Can we have transparency in this matter, right? And this is a matter that is of public interest. What can also international NGOs do? International NGOs can also apply pressure in global forums. And citizens, yes, ordinary people like you and me, we can keep this story alive, keep the name of Agnes Wanjiru from being buried under new headlines. Because governments don't move because it's right. Let's be honest. They move when the embarrassment of silence becomes more expensive than the cost of action. Now, Agnes Wanjiru was failed in life. She was failed in death and failed for 13 long years. This warrant is not justice. Do not celebrate. Thou shalt not celebrate the arrest warrant. It is the first step. Okay? That is step 1. And let me ask you this. Let's flip the script. If a Kenyan soldier killed a British woman in London, would we still be politely debating extradition after 13 years? Or would that soldier have been arrested within a week with CNN, Sky News, publishing 6 documentaries, 2 Netflix specials, and a Hollywood movie starring Benedict Cumberbatch as the brave detective who nails the Kenyan murderer? Bruv, that is hypocrisy of the highest order. That is an insult. Okay? It's a plain out insult. And that is the test. Are African lives truly equal in global justice? Or are we still just convenient training grounds for foreign armies? We've seen the British Army here. We've seen the US Army here. And who knows what other armies are around, including goons. Okay? Now, our sovereignty is just basically reduced to a prop for political speeches. Agnes deserves more than sympathy. She deserves justice. And if governments will not deliver it, then it is up to us, people, not politicians, to force them to. Therefore, we can't keep quiet. We'll keep telling the story of Agnes. We'll keep applying the pressure until they get the justice they deserve. This has been Katiba Ninja. See you on the next one.